So my call sign's Riddler. I'm a fighter pilot. That's what I do for my job. It's been quite an interesting journey since my accident. So that's what I currently am not flying now, but hope to get back to it. And it's kind of why I'm here, or why I finally made a decision to come to Cognitive FX. But I've been flying fighters for about 10 years now, and then flew some civilian airplanes before that. That's kind of where I'm at. I have a wife and 2 kids, 2 young kids, so throw that into the post-concussion syndrome recovery. It's been quite a journey to get me here to Cognitive FX. So I was actually on a snowboarding trip in Colorado, and I've always snowboarded fast, snowboarded my whole life. Basically, drop into this bowl, and then I was probably going about 40, 45 miles an hour, something like that. And then not sure exactly what happens, but I end up catching a pretty bad edge and have a pretty bad accident. I go straight down into the front of my head, and I get knocked unconscious for 5 full minutes. And I had a helmet on, thankfully. That's kind of been part of my journey in this whole thing. There's a lot of regret of why was I doing that? Why was I taking that risk? The strange part is I basically, after the immediate accident and getting taken down by ski patrol, but initially it was definitely kind of dazed, confused, not 100% sure what kind of happened. But by the time we get to the bottom of the mountain, I feel pretty much back to normal. I'm good. I'm passing all the ski patrol tests and talking to people, and they basically kind of just clear me off because I can remember everything. I really do feel fine. I'm obviously worried about my kind of flying career too and some of this, but I'm not really putting on much of a game. I truly did just feel fine. My CT scan was basically clean, so no skull fracture or brain bleed. So I kind of keep going with my regular life. Whether I push myself too hard or not, I kind of oh, I'm gonna be fine, it's no big deal. They even told me you recovered quicker than anybody we've ever seen. Maybe it's because of your age and you're in fairly good shape and health. And they're like, I think you'll be fine. 6 weeks after the accident is when the true post-concussion symptoms started. The first time it was these weird neurological symptoms of this woozy drunk feeling is the way I describe it. Listen to Dale Jr.'s book on concussions. He talks about it. So back at the peak of it in April and May, to a 2 or 3 beer kind of buzz, drunk feeling. I had this weird facial fuzziness, facial kind of sensation. And just whoa, what is happening? And up until this point in my life, I've been feeling invincible, but fighter pilot, go, go, go. This is a very, something's not right here. Try to get a brain MRI, which comes back clean, of course. So standard, again, okay, so you're fine, clean MRI, but again, I don't feel right. About a week or 2 after that, I wake up one morning, it's just a constant 8 out of 10 high pitch ringing in both ears. From the life as a fighter pilot with noise damage and exposure to loud noises, I've always had tinnitus come and go, 20, 30 seconds, and it would go away, but this is different. So I think it's tied to which talking to Cognitive FX can be from a head trauma. And so it's just been 24/7 ever since April 13th. I think I even remember the day. That was almost the worst symptom for a while when I'm in, and apologies, I guess I immediately didn't go straight in. That's gonna be kind of the story for any, other pilots out there. We're known for not going to the doctor for help. So I kind of try to deal with this on my own for a time where I'm just kind of living, trying to manage this on my own, with me and my wife and our kids, a 1-year-old, 3-year-old, to the point where I'm having to lay on the ground, just not feeling right. And the tinnitus is just spiraling out of control. And there's no known cure for it initially. And so I'm what am I gonna do? Luckily, my wife found an app based out of the UK for tinnitus specifically that talks through some mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy. So I started doing a session of that every night, 5 to 10 minutes of some breathing, and then it talks through brain habituation techniques. That gave me a clear path, hey, at least there's something I can do about this. I was able to kind of stop spiraling out of control and just be okay, through time I've slowly been able to get the tinnitus from an 8 out of 10 down to a 5 out of 10. But the woozy drunk feeling and the facial fuzziness, tingling was still going on after trying to deal with it on my own. And that was what led me to my first initial consult with Cognitive FX. I found the clinic just by literally Googling, post-concussion syndrome issues. I found this place, started looking into it, and it sounded really good. So I did my initial consult with Dr. Fong, and I was very impressed by what I heard, but also very skeptical because it is a lot of money. And I was at that point where I was still trying to manage this on my own, trying to decide if maybe I could kind of just do this, but a lot of money. And I finally, after probably a couple months, I realized hey, I can't keep this to myself. And that's, as a pilot, That's my biggest lesson learned from this whole thing, is like your health is your number one priority, and then flying is secondary. My feedback to everybody in general, and then, you know, if there are any pilots out there dealing with something like this, you know, pilots and other career fields, I'm sure, kind of don't want to go to the doctor or kind of keep stuff to themselves to worry about your career. But, you know, at some point, depending on your situation, you have to come to the realization that your health is your number one priority, and reprioritizing those kind of personal values of focusing on health and family and what's the best thing I can do. And let's take care of myself first. Time will tell, and we'll see. There's still, you know, a decent chance if I can just get better that I will be able to get back into a high performance aircraft. The other big lesson learned is I can't change what happened. I can't change the fact that I was going, you know, 40, 50 miles an hour and snowboarding, taking that risk, and I had an accident, depending on what actually happened. I can't change that, which took me a while to get over that regret and denial. I can't change what happened. All I can do is learn from it and move on, and then change kind of how I live my life, and, you know, refocus on kind of that. Everybody's situation is different. Nobody cares about your situation more than yourself, despite what other people may tell you. And if, you know, you've initially tried to explore any options that you can, and then if you know something is not right, and you are in a position to be able to financially afford it, depending on how that is, but if you can do it, then to me, you know, and it takes some people longer than others to come to that realization. For me, it's been well worth the money. I can always make more money, but I can't fix what happened or buy a new brain, but I can do everything that I can in my power to hopefully focus on my health and invest that money into my body to hopefully give me the best long-term, you know, outlook and get back to that quality of life I feel like has been truly worth the money. Because I did explore the free insurance covered options, and whether or not people go that route too or make the decision to come straight here, I think it is well worth the money if you're in the situation, and through your consults that they tell you that you're a good fit, that it has been well worth it for me. Me personally, I've already seen actual significant improvement in just a short week, which is pretty crazy, both physically and just emotionally, and now I actually have like hope and optimism, and so I'm excited now to truly feel like I have a path forward to actual recovery, and then getting to the point, like I said, that I can get back to as close to 100% as possible, hopefully 100%, but, you know, as close to that as possible, where I can just go back to being a, you know, normal everyday life, not having to think about this for every single day that I have for the last 8 months, and many people a lot longer that they've been dealing with stuff like this. It's just getting to that point where I can just get back to a normal everyday life without having to think about my accident and dealing with post-concussion issues. Get back to hopefully feeling good again, and that's what's super excited. So I can just, you know, be there, interact with my kids, and take care of them without having to be distracted by this.